So, as of recent, I've been taking the initiative to pay off my student loans. About last year, I sat down and really had a talk with myself. I decided that it's time to rid myself of debt. I approached this with a snowball mindset, so essentially what I did is I listed out all of my debt. I worked my way up from the credit cards. I paid off my credit cards in full. I stopped using them, and then I went on to my car payment. At the time, I was driving a 2012 Volkswagen Jetta. When I bought the car used, I financed it. I ended up paying about 8,500 bucks, and over the course of the loan, once everything was paid off, all said and done, I was about $13,000 in. And after having paid off the Jetta, I am now at the final stage of eliminating my debt, which is student loans. And the way the student loans are segregated is I have 6 student loans. 3 of them are subsidized, 3 are unsubsidized, and I've been applying that same method. I've been looking at whatever loan has the smallest value and trying to pay that off in full, making minimum payments on the other payments, but allocating a higher amount to the smallest outstanding loan in that list. So I recently crossed off one of the 6. I have 5 left. But you know what's the crazy part? As soon as I paid that loan off, my credit score tanked. This actually happened when I paid off my car as well. When I paid off my Jetta in full, my credit score tanked. It took a dive. And one thing that I think we need to really talk about is credit scores are a scam. I think it's kind of disgusting because I used to be that guy. I used to be that guy that used to look at people that had like an 850 credit score or even 750 plus. And I used to be in a similar position myself a long time ago. I used to look at people like that and used to be like, wow, that's something that we should strive for. It's sad that having a high credit score is something that people feel like they need to wear on their sleeve. Having a credit score, building credit, these things don't actually create wealth for you. Building your credit actually makes you more financially unstable. The way credit scores are designed, it actually limits your wealth. It doesn't create any wealth. It makes you more poor. It makes you somebody that's more in debt. That's the sad reality that I realized a little too late. So I stopped caring. I don't care about credit scores much anymore. I used to have a credit score that was in the upper 700s. And you know what's the funniest thing? My credit score is a lot lower than that now, but I'm making more money than I ever made in my life. I have way less debt than I used to, and my score is less. If I sit back and evaluate, does that mean that I'm in a worse position now than I was? Just because my credit score isn't where it once was? Absolutely not. It's like a trap. This is the trap. The FICO score is a trap that a lot of people get into. And you have to realize that if we take a look back, and we don't even need to jump back way too far, right? Let's go back 50 years. 50 years ago, there were no credit scores. There were no credit cards. People used to determine your credit worthiness based off of different things. First and foremost, it was your relationships and reputation. Local bankers or merchants, they used to rely on personal knowledge of a borrower. If you were somebody that was known to be honest and responsible, you were more likely to be approved. They looked at your character. They looked at what your capacity was. They would sit down, they would evaluate how much money you have, how much debt you actually have. That's the funny part to me. Like, having less debt back in the day made you somebody that was a better candidate to borrow money. Whereas now, it's all about credit lines, it's all about utilization and all that crap. Now, since I don't have a bunch of credit cards, I used to have like 4 or 5 credit cards. I had multiple cars financed to my name at one time. I had a mortgage. When I had all of that stuff going on, that's when my credit score was at the highest. And now, since I'm in a stage where I've eliminated part of my student loans, I've paid off credit cards, I have no car payments anymore, my credit score is not going to grow. And I'm okay with that because that's what the trap is. They want you to keep borrowing money so you can build a credit score. They want to keep you in debt. The credit score doesn't reward you. It's the worst way. Honestly, it's the worst way to determine wealth. If you're somebody that doesn't have debt, you're in a lot better financial position than somebody that does. Having a high credit score doesn't mean you're wealthy. It's actually quite the opposite. Borrowers back in the day, they used to provide references for people. You would get approved for loans from like employers, landlords, and stuff like that. I think about the situation myself, right? Like I mentioned, my credit score isn't as great as it once was. And the townhome that I'm living in right now, when I applied for it, I had a chat with the landlord. He was curious. He's like, look, this is my minimum requirement. And I noticed that you're pretty close, but you're not quite there. Just be straight up. Be honest with me. What happened? What's going on? And I explained the situation to him. I told him that, hey, I had a bunch of debt and I was tired of paying it and I fell behind on some payments. And once I took strides to start paying stuff off, it kind of messed up my credit score. And you know what he did? He let me sign the lease because he saw something beyond just that little score on the piece of paper. He trusted me. He felt like I was someone of good character, and it's been great. I'm coming up on year 2 at this place, and he's a really awesome landlord, and he's so glad that he picked me instead of some of the other people that he had in his rotation that he was considering. And that's the thing with credit scores as well, is you got to understand that they use this weird proprietary algorithm, and they don't even disclose that information to us. There's so much more than just, you doing your part, paying off stuff in full, and having lines of credit. You could be doing everything that you can do in your power, and you still may get the short end of the stick. And you could get penalized for actions like filing a report frequently. Isn't that the biggest heap of BS ever? Is like you're only allowed, one free credit report a year. You have to go through services to be able to enable more for yourself, and you actually hurt your own credit score by checking it too frequently. And the way that the FICO score is designed is it punishes the poor and benefits the wealthy. People with low income often lack access to credit and rely on high interest loans, and that actually harms their overall score. When you're wealthy, they look at, okay, you have credit lines of $100,000, $200,000, and they enable you to be able to borrow more. It's so sad because, like I said, you could be somebody that has $500,000 in the bank, and if you don't have a credit score, you're unworthy. But then you take person B, who's barely making it by, but they have a lot of good existing lines of credit and they're utilizing that debt every single month. Guess what? They're going to get that loan. They're going to get that house. And that's why the system is so unfair. That's why the whole credit score thing is such a scam. And I really want people to be able to break away from that mindset and realize that you need to stop glorifying this thing. It's something that we've created for ourselves. And a person who pays for everything in cash and has no debt, they have very low or basically non-existent score. When you're juggling multiple credit lines and you pay that minimum balance every month, you're someone that's a better contender. And you're just carrying so much more debt. That's what people don't realize, is when you finance stuff, especially cars, right? You pay so much in interest over the course of time. Even with mortgages, you're paying so much interest. Sit down one day, do me a favor, sit down, actually plug in the value of a house, right? And then set some parameters like 30-year, 15-year mortgage. You can play around with the interest rates. You'd be pretty surprised to see how much a $400,000 house actually ends up costing you over the course of 30 years. The thing that you got to realize with the whole credit score thing is there's actually a lot of errors and they don't get reported. I remember I had a certain payment that went into collections like a while back. When I log on to my credit report, that thing's still there. I paid that thing off a while ago. They don't care. They're not on your side. The credit bureau is not here to help you. They actually want you to borrow more. They want to keep you broke. That's one thing that I've realized, that I just don't care anymore. Stuff is working out for me right now. My credit score is slowly, ever so slowly, starting to climb because, like I said, I'm not somebody that's going to have a 0 score because I still do have student loans. I've been told by so many people, don't pay it off so quick. It's going to hurt you. I don't care. I don't care if I have to pay it off quick. I just want to be free from it. Why should I pay so much excess in interest over the course of time just to carry afloat this cute little score that I can fall back on and say, hey, I have an 850 credit score. It's not going to do anything for me. Before you come at me and say, oh, you know what, I'm responsible with the way I spend and stuff like that, that's not advice you can give everybody. I think if you look at the general consensus, and if we really sincerely take a step with ourselves and ask ourselves what will we do and what have we done and what will we tell others, people aren't responsible with credit cards. That's just the reality. You can tell yourself all day long, I'm only going to spend 200 every 2 weeks or 500 in a month or whatever it is, and I'm going to pay it off in full. That's not happening for most people. If you really want to go for that, I mean, one thing that I've decided if I really want to keep utilizing my credit card in the future is I'll automate a certain set of payments. Maybe I'll put like my phone bill or my internet bill on there. I might stack a couple bills on there, let them accumulate over the month, and then just pay them off. But I just cringe when people are like, oh, you know what, don't use your debit card everywhere, or don't use your debit card at all, and cash is pointless. Just put everything on your credit card and pay it off in full every month. That's not advice that you can give people. I'm sorry. You're going to just harm people with that type of advice. You all need to understand that credit scores, they encourage risky financial behavior. They keep you in debt, and they are a scam. So I think we all need to take that step to really evaluate what debt means in our life. Learn to live below your means. Stop overspending. Stop financing everything. As soon as you get a little bit of money, stop going to the dealership and getting a brand new car. You don't need that stuff. What did the wealthy do before credit scores existed? And a lot of very wealthy individuals, I know myself personally, what do? They buy stuff in cash. There's no shame in that. I will 100 times out of 100 be that person that has no type of credit history to my name, but I have 6, 7 figures just tucked away in a bank, than to be that person that makes a fraction of that amount of money but has unlimited credit and lines of credit and just a really fancy score that means nothing at the end of the day.